It's Andrew with All Things Fantasy, and today I'm bringing you the final episode of my Draft Guide series, Ep.6, and today we'll be talking about kickers. So before we kind of get into it, a lot of people kind of don't really care about their kickers, and like by the time the kickers become like the people to go after in your draft, people have kind of lost interest, and they kind of just pick up anybody, and they're not really focused on getting a good kicker, and they don't really think it's important. But like, think about how many times in a fantasy game where you've only lost by a couple points, and your kicker could have been the difference if you would have got a field goal in a game. So your kickers are very important, and you definitely shouldn't undervalue them on your team. So just kind of think about that for this video. So I'm gonna be breaking down the top 15 kickers in 2016, and I want to note like in some of the other positions, I kind of was saying that like maybe don't really like expect to get the top guys because they're hard to get right. Top wide receivers, top running backs. You're not gonna get the tops in both lists, but with kickers you can get a top kicker, and I'll kind of go over where to draft kickers and when to draft kickers in my draft strategy video, which should be coming out, which will come out after this series is over. But for now, we're just gonna focus on top kickers to draft, and I definitely think you can get one of these top 5 kickers. And I definitely think the 5 kickers on this list are kickers that you need to have. These kickers, like you need to have one of these guys because these guys are elite guys and they're gonna get probably good numbers this season. So let's get right into it. Number 1, probably not a surprise, Stephen Gostkowski. Hopefully I said that right. Kicker for the Patriots, obviously. And like, all right. So one thing I want to say, like, good kickers, a lot of them correlate with good offenses, right? Because kickers can't score points if the offenses aren't moving the ball on the field and getting them in position to kick field goals and scoring, so they can kick extra points. So something to look at is teams that are scoring a lot and have a high production offense. You want to try to get their kicker because the kicker is going to be putting up a lot of points. So that's something that really kind of goes hand in hand. But obviously, Gostkowski is a very a veteran kicker, a very good kicker, and obviously he's on the Patriots, a very good offense. But obviously, and something to note with the Tom Brady suspension, maybe their offense won't be as good the first 4 weeks. Who knows? I still don't think that. I mean, it will affect Gostkowski's production maybe a little bit in the first 4 weeks, but I think he's worth it because I know, he's been so consistent. I know that he's, the rest of the season after that, he should be, very solid and, definitely a number one kicker in the league, or a top kicker in the league. So number 2, Steven Hauschka. I hope I said that right. Some of these kickers have weird names, but kicker for the Seahawks. Obviously, the Seahawks, high production offense. Something you notice about these top kickers, they're all on high production offenses. And Seahawks high production offense, and Hauschka is the benefactor of that. He's racking up all these points because the Seahawks are getting in scoring position so many times and scoring so many times. Same thing with 3, Graham Gano. He had a great season last year. Kind of came up in the fantasy ranks. And it was all due to the Panthers and Cam Newton. Putting him in the position to score points. And same with Chris Boswell. Pittsburgh's offense. I love Pittsburgh's offense, and they're such an explosive offense. And Chris Boswell, like I said, reaped the benefits of that offense, scoring all those points. So those top 4 are all on very good offenses, and they're kind of just no-brainer picks. Also, obviously, they're also very veteran guys. And speaking of veterans, number 5, Adam Vinatieri. Obviously, if you haven't heard the name Adam Vinatieri, I don't think you know football. He's like probably one of the most well-known kickers in the league, if not the most well-known. Um, but he's one that's but he's only on this list who's not on maybe a top offense at least right now. Um, the Colts obviously not a top offense in the league, but they have a lot of potential. I think this year, last year was a big letdown with injuries and everything. I think this year is their big turnaround year, and they're gonna, really have a year like they did 2 years ago. Um, but Adam Vinatieri still, was putting up good numbers last year, even with, you know, the offense that was, his offense that wasn't, giving him the best opportunities to score points. Um, so yeah, he's a good guy to have, a solid veteran. Got him at number 5. He's a guy that if these top 4 are taken, Adam and Terry is a guy that I would target. Um, yeah, so that's my top 5. Like I said, you want to get one of these guys, and it's so doable to get one of these guys, and definitely have and have high expectations for kickers. Like maybe not like for like other positions, like I said, but like kickers, you want to expect to get one of the top, one of the best kickers. Um, so 6 through 10, 6 Blair Walsh on the Vikings. Um, the Vikings had a pretty decent season as far as offense production goes. Um, and actually the whole season in general. And Blair Walsh, did pretty well because of that. He was definitely a guy who he wasn't like a top kicker last year, and like he still isn't now, but he's definitely up there, right? He's my number 6, and he definitely moved up a lot. Um, Josh Brown, the Giants again, another very explosive, productive offense. Well, maybe not so much in the running game, but in their wide receiver game, yes, and their passing game, yes. And Josh Brown is like I said, the benefactor of that. Okay, number 8, Roberto Agayo. I hope I said that right. Like I said, these guys have weird names. Rookie on the Buccaneers, right out of college. He came from FSU, top kicker in the country. A lot of people have high expectations for him. He's very good, or at least he was in college, and it'll be interesting to see what he does in the NFL. But like I said, he's number 8. That could be maybe um, I might be ranking him a little higher than maybe he should be, but I don't know. Obviously the Bucks they're not a bad offense, but they're not a great offense. They're pretty average. Um, but from the games that I've watched last year, they were moving the ball pretty well. I think a guy that is going to be able to convert those field goals for them, um, and hopefully score a lot of points. And he's kind of a sleeper guy. Maybe if something happens and you just have a brain fart, because it happens. You'll make mistakes in the draft, and if maybe you make a mistake and you can't get a top kicker, this is a guy maybe to pick up. But there's also other sleeper kickers out there, and I'll kind of get to that later. But a guy who's definitely a sleeper kicker to look after, because a lot of people aren't going to have him. They're not even like looking at him probably on their lists. So 9, Justin Tucker, Baltimore, a guy who is a pretty solid guy. Obviously Ravens again, not a crazy great offense, pretty average. But Tucker, a good kicker that was pretty solid last year, and he deserves to be like right in the middle of this list. Number 10, Chandler Catanzaro. I don't even know if I said that right. Like I said, he's got weird names, but I want to talk about him a little bit. He is a kicker for the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals, like you said, they're going to be a very explosive offense this season. And um, Catanzaro is going to reap a lot of those benefits. And, he might actually be ranked a little bit low. He definitely, on some, in some people's opinion, he might be, like I said, he might be more towards a 6 or 7 spot. And maybe not, at 10, So he's definitely another, like, kind of a sleeper who could have a great season and who could be, worth a pickup if maybe, like I said, you have a brain fart in draft and make a mistake. So I definitely like him. Him and Agayo are definitely guys who I'm looking at. If like I said, if something happens and I miss out on the kickers. And then okay, for the last five, 11 through 15, um, we have 11 Dan Bailey for the Cowboys. Now the Cowboys obviously struggled offensively a lot last year. This year they have higher expectations with Romo coming back and Ezekiel Elliott. So we'll see how that happens. Dan Bailey still did pretty well last year with that offense. Like that's why I'm kind of expecting him to do pretty good this year. Like I said, he could be one of those guys who might be during the season who might move up a couple of spots in the rankings. 12 Mason Crosby. For Green Bay, Green Bay, they were hot and cold last year, and I think that kind of really rubbed off on Crosby, as far as his numbers went. And obviously Mason Crosby in previous years has been, a top kicker, and has been a guy that just put up a lot of points before. But this year or last year, last season, not as much. And so he's got us, kind of on the down slope right here. He's kind of on the downward, downward, slope of the rankings. I guess he's on the way down, but he's still a guy that if you have to take him, you could. Like I said, no, I mean, with unless you have like a really it's like a 12 team league or something, like you probably won't be having to get any of these guys. If there was a couple guys I would get, I honestly I would probably avoid Mason Crosby even over some of these like my 13, 14, 15, honestly, like um but 13 Brandon McManus um of the Broncos. um okay, he's really interesting. I want to talk about him because he was one of the best kickers last year in fantasy as far as like points go. Like he had some really solid games and was definitely up there for a while as like one of the best kickers. And the reason he's so low this year is because the Broncos lost a lot of their offensive production by losing Peyton Manning, pretty much, and by losing like they just. I mean, obviously they still have the receivers and everything, but like now they have a rookie quarterback and or now when I mean, well, we don't know. Their quarterback is in question. It's going to be um, Sanchez or Lynch, and so that's a big question mark. And I just don't know if if they're going to be able to give McManus the opportunities that he had last year. So that's a big question mark. That's why he moved down this list. But McManus is a guy that like I said, you could take a risk on, and like I said, he's a guy like a guy who could have a pretty solid season. Um, and I'd be willing to take a risk on him. That's why I want him over Mason Crosby. Mason Crosby is maybe a little more solid, but like Brandon McManus has so much more upside. Um, so that's why I reckon my ranking. That's why my rankings are like that. ESPN didn't give me a lot of, didn't give me a lot to go off of as far as rankings. Um, it was really weird. Their kickers was like their weirdest one yet. I'll show you guys after this video, but yeah, it wasn't great to go off of. But yeah, 14 Carlos Santos for the Kansas City Chiefs. A lot of people will probably recognize him from having that crazy big game last year where he scored like over 20 fantasy points. And as a kicker, that's pretty insane. Um, but yeah, so a lot of people were picking him up after that. But he's definitely like still not a top kicker. Like I said, he had a good week last year. Just I guess kind of got lucky that the Chiefs weren't scoring and they were just getting field goal position. So he kind of reaped the benefits of that week. But yeah, he's a guy who's gonna like Crosby is gonna be hot and cold all season as far as their offense and just his kicking goes. Um, 15 Nick Novak. Now this is a guy I want to talk about a little bit. Nick Novak Houston Texans. I've been talking about the Texans a couple times in previous videos. I'm definitely big on them. Coming into this season, I think they're definitely a team that's maybe not talked about enough right now, and I really like a lot of their players, and I think their offense is, I think their offense, if they, if they use it right, is gonna have a big year, and like I said, somebody that's gonna reap the benefits of that is their kicker, Nick Novak, and he's a guy that I would take a risk on to have on my team. Um, so yeah, I definitely would be willing to take a risk on him in a draft, and I definitely when I kind of do these mock drafts, I'm gonna do multiple mock drafts. I'm gonna kind of play around with the players that I select and kind of use some different strategies, but kind of follow basic guidelines, basic rules that I'll explain. But I will kind of mess around and like kind of pick and choose different players at different times to kind of see what kind of different combinations we can get to help you guys out. But yeah, so let's look at ESPN real quick. Um, so yeah, so ESPN rankings can give you out to go off of after. Oh, I'm at. Okay, so like I said, like so if you're looking at like these this stuff, like they after like 20, like it kind of gets choppy, and like some of these guys aren't even playing next year, and like it's really weird. And you kind of scroll down, and you have like some starters down here, and just like it's weird. Um, but yeah, so the rankings were a little messed up. I moved a lot of guys up and down this list, just from like my own knowledge and my own, I guess like gut feels about it. But one guy I also want to mention is Janikowski. I don't think he could have a decent season as well. Um, like I said, I wouldn't put him anywhere in my top 10, but I do think his power rank is 21. I do think he could be a top 15 kicker. Depending on how good season the Raiders have. But yeah, so that the ESPN's rankings. I would definitely kind of look at my rankings more than ESPN's, just because more than anything else, it's definitely kickers for my rankings, just because ESPN has some really weird rankings and maybe aren't factoring in some of the things that I factored in that I think are very valuable. So yes, that concludes my draft guide series. So next video, expect like a draft strategy video, and then we'll get into mock drafts, and then the season's right around the corner. Maybe try to do some other things before the season starts. Yeah, so thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.